In the dim light of early dawn, a chill crept through the quiet town of Oakridge. It was one of those mornings where the air felt thick with anticipation, the kind that hinted at a brewing storm both outside and within the hearts of its inhabitants. Foster Avenue, lined with trees that had shed their yellowing leaves, led to the familiar sight of the old school bus gradually coming into view, its faded yellow color dull against the gray sky. This bus was not simply a mode of transportation. It served as an arena for the drama that unfolded daily within its walls. As the bus wheezed to a halt, a girl named Kayla Hayes stood at the curb, her frame straight, determination etched into her features. The weight of the backpack on her shoulder felt heavy as she braced herself for the inevitable confrontation that awaited her inside. Kayla was no stranger to conflict. She had spent months enduring jibes and sneers from a trio of boys who derived their thrill from her discomfort. They saw her grace under pressure as an invitation to escalate their taunts, and every morning had turned into a testament of endurance. As the door of the bus creaked open, Kayla stepped up into the cramped space, wearing her invisible armor. The stench of stale food mixed with the remnants of teenage sweat enveloped her, but she pressed on, head held high as she passed the usual suspects. In the front seat, Ethan Crowley lounged back, a smug grin plastered across his face as he glared down the aisle, flanked by his loyal companions, Mark and Dylan. Their eyes narrow, tracking her every movement with a predatory gleam. "Look who made it. The queen of the wrestling mat," Ethan crowed, his voice cutting through the chatter of fellow students like a knife. The laughter that followed was a sharp echo of disdain, each chuckle punctuating the air, reminding her of her solitary struggle against their collective malice. Kayla chose not to engage, forcing her gaze to remain fixed on the window, the world outside a blur of gray. She could feel the weight of their eyes drilling into her, each sneer softening her resolve but hardening her spirit. They thought her silence was weakness, that she would crumble beneath their relentless barrage of insults. Little did they know, Kayla had cultivated her resilience for years as a state champion wrestler, waiting for the right moment to unleash her strength. The bus jolted forward, rattling her out of her thoughts as it lurched along the bumpy road. Outside, the houses passed by like scenes in a movie she was forced to watch, yet could not influence. Each street corner served as a reminder of her daily struggle, a reminder that the joy she found on the wrestling mat was marred by the pain she endured here. She took a slow breath, feeling the tension in her muscles as she replayed her father's advice in her mind. People like Ethan gain power from fear. Don't give them the satisfaction of watching you break. The whispers and jokes continued to bounce off her like rubber, but now she was starting to feel the thin line between patience and anger fraying at the edges. As the bus made its first stop, a crumpled paper ball flew from the back where Ethan's group sat, hitting the back of Kayla's head with a soft thud. She remained still, a picture of calm despite the fire swirling inside her. "Careful, champ," Ethan called out. "Don't want to mess up that fancy outfit of yours. What do you think? Should we give her a medal for lasting this long?" The laughter erupted anew, the kind that mocked and derided, yet did not touch her core. The routine continued as it had for months, a back-and-forth game of dominance and submission. Yet something in Kayla began to stir, a feeling like lightning gathering in the clouds, dark and potent. She thought of her father who, like a thunderous storm, taught her that even the meekest animals can rise to protect themselves when threatened. Could today be that day? When the bus rolled into a particularly bumpy stretch, Kayla felt the vibrations ripple through her, igniting the fire inside her with an intensity she hadn't felt before. Today was different. Today they had crossed a line she had allowed them to tread upon for too long. They did not respect her silence. They interpreted it as weakness because, unbeknownst to them, she had been waiting for this, waiting to make her mark not just on the wrestling mat, but in every aspect of her existence. Ethan leaned forward, a predatory glint in his eyes. "What's the matter, Kayla? Losing your courage? Come on, show us what you've got. Last time I checked, even when princesses fight, they draw blood." The taunts lingered in the air, a challenge she could no longer ignore. It felt raw, electric, the tension tightening around her like a noose. But what they did not see was the boiling cauldron of pent-up strength within her. Maybe silence was just another method of fighting battles worth winning, and when Ethan reached for her backpack strap, it smashed like glass against her patience. The flash of metal in steel rolled through her mind as she spun in response, taking a deep breath that felt heavier in her chest. The moment his fingers curled around the strap, she snapped. "Take your hands off me," she commanded, her voice echoing against the bus walls with conviction. The energy in the bus shifted instantaneously. Whispers turned to gasps, and a realization hung thick in the air, heavy and unyielding. Ethan's expression faltered, eyebrows knitting together in confusion as he calculated his next move. She saw his bravado wavering, fear creeping into his bravado as Kayla's grip tightened around his wrist, yanking him forward as she shifted her weight. What was instinct to her became a surprise blow for them as Ethan stumbled, his calculated confidence shattered. She pushed him back onto the seat. The sound of his body hitting the metal echoed in the stunned silence, a symphony of awe cascading through the other students. Mark and Dylan fumbled their way toward her, but their movements seemed clumsy and unsure in comparison to her fluid command of space. "What are you waiting for?" she shouted, turning toward them with relentless fire. "Come at me." The bus didn't just hold her body. It trapped the momentum of the fight within its walls, a cocoon of shifting power. With each moment, her confidence bloomed like a flower breaking through concrete, beautiful and fierce. She wouldn't just defend herself, she would reclaim her power. In a movement that felt like an ancient ritual, she thrust out her arm, unbalancing Dylan as he lunged. He fell, a ragdoll caged in a desperate act of defiance. Mark hesitated, a deer in headlights, his bravado eclipsed by the reality of the situation. "What's wrong, boys?" she roared with a voice filled with laughter instead of anger. "You thought I was just a quiet girl?" The entire bus seemed to hold its collective breath, the air electric. Everyone there witnessed this breathtaking shift, yawning open into the room as she cast aside the layers of fear that had muffled her true self for too long. "If you want to fight," she called, now echoing confidence, "then I'll give it to you on my terms." The call for control twisted within Ethan, his mouth open to deny her claim, but no words emerged. The chaos of high school drama spilled into the bus like a tide of uncertainty. Reality crashed in around them, and Kayla stood not just as a girl, but as a force commanding respect. The embarrassment of failure began to catch fire in their cheeks as acknowledgement washed over the witnessing crowd. "Enough!" Kayla shouted, her commitment resounding. "You've messed with me for the last time." With one powerful motion, she turned the tide altogether, shifting their roles from oppressor to defendant. Time to see what a real champion can do. The sheer dominance turned them vulnerable. They fumbled over one another, struggling to grasp at their pride as she continued to hold her own against a hurricane of judgment and conflict. Blow by blow, her prowess proved not just physical, but exhilaratingly exhilarating. Every punch they threw her way lost its potency. Every taunt evaporated in the storm brewing around her strength. Kayla! 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 It erupted from the back of the bus as her classmates, awed by her rising defiance, shouted her name, igniting applause, encouragement pouring from them like a flood. In the midst of chaos, the bus driver finally reacted. Mr. Becker slammed on the brakes, jolting everyone forward, and the battle froze in place, held suspended for a breath of charged energy filled with unrepentant bravery. "What on earth is going on?" he barked, glancing back to the shield of bodies that blurred into shadows, eyes wide in disbelief. But it was too late to temper the swell. They were no longer just watchers. They became the chorus that amplified Kayla's fight, fueling the fire of her resistance against the poison bred in silence. "They need to hear this," Mark stammered, panic leaking into words. "We were just trying to what? Humiliate me? Reinforce your so-called dominance over me? Or was it all just for kicks?" She spat, each word cutting through their flimsy excuses like wildfire. "Well, guess what? You've underestimated me." The bus was still, filled with a symphony of deep breaths. That day, they witnessed more than confrontation. They saw a revolution of self-worth, a reconciling of what it meant to be not just a student, but a vibrant, untouchable spirit. The hum of reality vibrated through the air, weaving its way into every fabric of their experiences. As Mr. Becker ruled that day, Kayla etched the moment into her spirit. Knowing something undeniable had shifted, she could feel an awakening burying deep into her chest, a part of her that had long been set aside finally unleashed. The battle had turned, and this victory tasted sweeter than she had ever imagined. The bus lurched forward again, momentum returning, but the tide had turned. As they journeyed into the future, the kids who had once doubted her would be changed forever. Like an arsonist awakening in her to ignite the embers within everyone who watched, seeking the courage they had stowed away. In the face of injustice, Kayla Hayes had transformed from a quiet girl into a force. Soon, she would stand tall in the gym where medals hung with pride, wearing the badge of resilience on her heart. But today, she bore witness to the freedom found in fighting back, unyielding against a past lined with fear. Whatever lay ahead, she was more than ready, and the world would resonate with the truth she had fought to reclaim. As the bus pulled away from the roadside, going further into the town she called home, the laughs and whispers turned from taunts into awe. She collected each moment like jewels to bedazzle the crown she never knew she wore, gleaming with strength, finally standing proud as the true champion she had always been.